blackface. That man happens to be Harris County Precinct 5 Constable Ted Heath. He says he was at a costume party when he was in blackface, and this is how he explained it today in 2020.
Well, I don't think definitely don't think that would be something that is appropriate now. I don't. Back then, as a 21-year-old, imitating a very popular police officer show, we were at I say 21 years old, I don't know how old I was, but it was probably 35, 40 years ago. And so imitating the characters at that particular show, that's what it was. That was Link and Julie were kind of the two heroes of the Mod Squad. So anybody who can remember that show and go back and look at it, that was the impression of those two. Do I think it would be appropriate now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And joining us now here on The Factor Uncensored is Black Lives Matter Houston, Ashton P. Woods. Glad to have you on The Factor, Ashton. I took a look at your social media page, and you're asking the question, or you're saying flat out, it's time that Constable Heath resign. Why?
Well, first of all, it doesn't matter when the blackface occurred, it occurred. That's racism. It's no different than someone dressing up like a Native American or indigenous person, or like the argument behind the Washington Redskins. I mean, we live in a systemically racist society. We don't need people, especially when in a time when we're trying to hold law enforcement accountable, we don't need racist folks who will be behind a badge, especially since this same constable's office was related to the Ashton Barnes murder back then. I know you remember that. I know this black constable got pulled over by one of the officers, and I saw the footage from that. This man needs to resign, and he's up for re-election. So this is our chance to put people in if we just have to have a constable. Because remember, this guy is overseeing evictions. Constables hand out eviction notices. So if he's the constable, what is his staff like? How do they treat tenants who are affected by COVID-19 and at risk for eviction? I mean, these are questions that I have. I think that's dangerous.
If this was back more than 30 years ago, though, Ashton, and what would be the statute of limitations on something like this? Can people change? Would he be allowed to change if he didn't feel that way, or if that was just a mistake he made?
I'll be real with you. Here's the deal. There is no statute of limitations on racism. Everybody is allowed to change. I am not a deity or God. I don't have dominion over people. But I do reserve the right to hold people accountable for their First Amendment rights. I mean, free speech is a thing, but free speech has consequences, and that is also including but not limited to freedom of expression. And if you choose to express yourself in that manner in that time period, it doesn't matter what, again, like I said earlier, when it happened. It's just knowing that people are being exposed for who they really are. And this has been happening for the last 3.5 years, not just with blackface, but with the Me Too movement, the Time's Up movement, everything that anybody's ever done that has been unsavory is coming to bite them in the behind. And whatever consequences that flow from that should be the consequences that flow from that. So it's not about me forgiving or not forgiving him. I just think that it's dangerous to have people like that in leadership, because what are they saying, in the privacy of their own homes or in their mind? Because here's the thing, people like him apologize because they got caught. They don't apologize because of what they did. And I don't buy any sincerity from him about him being sorry about being in blackface. He looked happy. And it's from what I understand, the picture was from 1995. But regardless, again, of when it happened, and he needs to answer to that, and he should resign, because it's a reflection of white supremacy in policing.
Ashton P. Woods with Black Lives Matter Houston, thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored, and we'll be back with more Factor in just a moment.